Right, good evening, everybody. Welcome to session 2 of our big Reboot conference. Hopefully we'll turn up for the Zwift Virtual Training and Events session. If not, please stay around. There isn't a better session to be on, so please stay with us. My name's Will. I'm head of clubs and regions for Triathlon England and British Triathlon. I'm going to hand over pretty shortly to our colleagues from Zwift. And I'm just going to ask Craig in the finest style of a Downing Street press conference to move on to the next slide. Some of you will have been on the previous session this evening and will have already seen the house rules. Just a reminder for everybody, if you haven't, if you could keep your microphone on mute so that we can hear the speakers and not sort of background noise in people's houses or the pub, wherever you may be. If you do want to ask questions, please use the chat box function. We will come to you. We will pick up questions from there. And if we do need you to unmute to ask that question, we will come back to you in due course. Make sure you're in a space that is comfortable for you, obviously. And if you have low bandwidth, turn off your camera. We can do that if anybody's struggling as well. And please don't walk, drive, swim, bike, run, Zwift, drink beer in a pub garden whilst you're attending this conference. If you are doing the latter, please make sure your camera's off. None of us want to see you doing that. Mind your language if you do put something in the chat or if you are unmuted. We are recording these sessions as it says below, and we don't want any bad language on those. We will be sharing them afterwards, both with conference delegates and later with the wider triathlon community. If you're not comfortable with being on screen, please make sure your camera is off. And throughout, we'd like you to use hashtag the big reboot to share your experiences. If there are questions that either ourselves or Zwift are unable to answer this evening, we will make a note of them and come back to you in due course. So please make sure that you put any questions you want answering in there, and we will do our best to respond to them. Should anybody need it, we will play the Jackie Weaver role and we can kick people out, but we're not going to have to do that at all. So that's enough for me. It's my pleasure to hand over to Craig Taylor, who is the Director of Growth Marketing for Running and Triathlon for Zwift.
Awesome. Thank you, Will. Really appreciate it. Excited to be a part of the conference. As Will said, I'm here today to talk on behalf of Zwift and really cover off on the trends that we're seeing across virtual training and events. So with that said, let's just jump right into it. Awesome. Just in true Zwift fashion, just kicking it off with a fun little video that we put together of some of the awesome events that we've been able to host and take part in over the last year. Hopefully it wasn't too choppy. I saw a few comments that just with the video over this was a bit choppy. So hopefully everybody was able to see it. If not, it'll be recorded and people can go back. But today, what I'd like to walk everybody through is first and foremost kind of the trends that we're seeing in the overall market, both from a digital standpoint and then also virtual fitness standpoint. And then from there, go into the trends that we're now seeing through Zwift, a few of the things that we've been able to do on Zwift with these trends over the last several years, and especially throughout COVID. And then following up with how you as the audience can utilize Zwift to the best of your abilities to really grow a community and a fan base on Zwift. So with that, we'll jump right into it. So one of the first things that we've seen over the last year is that with everyone at home, people are engaging more and more with virtual fitness. So since 2019 to 2020, it's up to 73% of people are engaging in some type of virtual fitness, whether it be recorded classes, streamed classes, programs like Zwift, and then also people are exercising significantly more while they've been at home during this time, with 56% of people exercising at least 5 times per week. And nearly 50% of people are intending to make virtual fitness a part of their regular routine. So whether that's complementary to them going back to gyms or going back outdoors, that it's become a part of their habits and their routines. So so from there, just wanted to jump into kind of a bit more of the trends that we're seeing across the digital and the social landscape. So as you kind of look across the global gaming landscape, and just something to remember that at Zwift, so our slogan is we are the fitness company born from gaming. So at the end of the day, we are a game, and we're meant to bring people together in that form so that they can engage with the global community. So this is something that's significantly important to us, is looking across that growth in mobile gaming, because it's not just about what's the growth potential for Zwift, but this is what we're competing against. This is what all of us are competing against in terms of share of attention of people as they tune in more and more to their cell phones and to various other gaming devices. And then in terms of digital media, again, you're seeing a massive trend over the last several years, even before COVID, of hours spent on mobile devices. It just continues to go up and up. And then lastly, going into kind of the social media trends, we're seeing these go up across the board. Facebook, YouTube, WhatsApp, Instagram. You might be asking, why does this matter for virtual training, virtual events? But again, this is a way that we can reach out to people, but also needing to recognize the fact that this is all the portion of that person's day. And this is what we're having to compete against as people are at home. While they are working out more, they're also spending more and more time with their devices. So something that we need to recognize and combat against to some degree, so that way we can recapture that the share of their thoughts and bring them back over to the places that we want them to participate in. And then as we look at COVID, all of these trends across many different countries continue to accelerate. So just with this specific data point, we're looking across the gaming industry of people that are playing more, and then people that are joining anew in this. So you're seeing a significant rise across the board. So then how does this affect virtual training? How does this affect the virtual events going on? When we look at a country by country basis, this is specifically 2020 for each of these countries. You see that COVID's impacted each country a little bit different based on the lockdown restrictions that they had. Spain and Italy with rather restrictive lockdowns of not being able to go outside, but for a few hours, unless you had setups already to enable you to have some sort of virtual fitness in home, then that dropped off significantly. Whereas other countries, specifically the UK, there was a massive boom during that time. And it's something that you're seeing that's beginning to trail off, but across the board, it's becoming part of the routines. And as we saw on the first slide, people are intending to keep with this as they continue on in their fitness journeys. So again, as we look across this, so this is from 2019 to 2020, seeing a 1.7 times increase in indoor cycling, 1.3 times increase in indoor running. Obviously, a lot of other things are going up as well. But when we look at that for year over year, it's a pretty significant boom in these activities. So it's how do we capitalize on this? How do we make sure that we as a company for Zwift are delivering the things that consumers need and that they want to be able to have that community interaction and to be able to get in quality training in this virtual space. Sorry, lots of stats coming at you. I promise only a few more, and then we'll dive into a bit more fun stuff. And specifically, when we look at the individual groups of cyclists and runners, there's quite a significant increase in those indoor workouts and indoor rides for those groups as they take on new things. So it continues to just show that it's inherent within those groups. It's becoming part of the routine, part of their habit. And then we're seeing that across federations as well. Just like British Tri, there's 73% of all Olympic summer federations are planning to work on some type of esports project in the next few years. As you saw in the upfront video, hopefully you saw over the the summer months, we were fortunate enough to work on quite a few major milestone events with the virtual Tour de France, the 2020 Esports World Championships on platform, and we only hope to be able to continue to expand those. So with all that, you might be asking, where does Zwift fit into this? And first and foremost, our goal at Zwift isn't to replace what we're doing outdoors, to become a replacement for everything that we're seeing. Our goal is to be additive and to be able to provide a place where people can come and do their training, they can participate in events, and it enhances their experience for when they are able to go outdoors, to races, to in real life events. And it really makes it beneficial to them. They feel like they've gotten a highly efficient workout. They've gotten a fun event at a time where they can't have events. And with that, just jump into a few trends that we're seeing at Zwift. So not to be boastful, but within the last several years, we've had obviously a massive growth on platform, which is really exciting to see from our standpoint. But with COVID and people coming to, being restricted to being indoors and coming to the Zwift platform, we've continued to see a massive increase in people coming onto the platform, going for rides, going for runs. It's been rather exciting to see the community come together, and that's one thing that's been very rewarding to us as a company is having that feeling like you're making a significant impact in someone's day, and being able to bring them together and allow them to connect with the community while they aren't able to see people in real life. They're able to come in and train with others and interact with others on the platform. So, and one of the things that's specific for this group and specific for triathletes across the board is that with the trend as we've grown, we've continued to see the workouts on platform continue to grow as well. So you'll see that free ride continues to be the most popular of anything that people do. So that's free ride and run. But the next most popular is workouts, and then group workouts below that. So I specifically called that out for this group because with virtual training is how do I plug into the workouts that I need to do, the workouts that I want to do. Included in those workouts are workouts that people are adding into the program themselves, whether it be through Training Peaks or today's plan or creating themselves as well. So for those that might be scratching their head and wondering what exactly Zwift is, if you haven't had a chance to hop on, we do have 3 events scheduled for this week. I believe Will has sent those out through the emails and such. I'll have a slide at the very end with links to those. But just to give you a bit more background, here are the things that you need to jump on Zwift from a very basic sense. You need a trainer, a bike, and then some sort of device that can have the Zwift app on it. So in this image, it's an iPad with the iOS app on it. You could use a computer, Apple TV, or Android device as well. Excuse me. And obviously with this example, it shows a direct drive trainer, but Zwift is also compatible with rollers and the speed sensor or power meter, or your standard wheel on trainer as well. So all of those will provide a great experience and provide a way for you to hop on the platform and be able to utilize and interact with the global community. And the same goes for running. So the 3 kind of key things that you need is a treadmill, a run sensor. So whether that treadmill connects directly to the game or you need a foot pod, you need some sort of device to transmit your speed into the game, and then the device itself to run Zwift. So just like with on the cycling side, showcasing an iPad here, but it could be a TV with Apple TV, Android device, computer, etc. So, and then who is Zwift? As I said earlier, we're the fitness company born from gaming. We are here to service everyone that has a fitness goal. So whether you are training as an elite athlete for the Olympics, or you're hopping on and trying to gain more fitness because you've sat around a bit too long during COVID and you've let some of that fitness dwindle. And what does Zwift do in that? So as I said, we're a gaming company first and foremost that's trying to provide fitness to everyone. So and we do that through integrated software and hardware. So the software obviously is the game. Hardware is something that we continue to work on right now. We have the Zwift Run Pod. Hopefully a few of you have interacted with that in the past, but we'll continue to refine that experience as well. And then the intent is we bring the power of technology and the fun of gaming and the energy of the community to fitness. Zwift was founded very early on, not as a means for training or for safety. It was founded because of the community and wanting to be able to bring a global community together to be able to ride and run together and experience that. And we truly believe that fun dictates results. So if you're able to come on a platform and you have fun doing it, you lose yourself in that, and all of a sudden you've got this new level of fitness that you didn't know was possible, and you had fun getting there. So as we look at virtual events, virtual training, the purpose that we've set out for ourselves with those events is to create fresh and exciting content on the platform that makes Zwift a year-round destination. So as I said, we don't want this to be restrictive or something that takes over what's happening outdoors, but additive to that. And our promise is that there will always be something enticing on Zwift to give you a reason to come to the platform. And I mean that in the sense of the events that we're doing, the training that's going on as well. And then specifically that, we're always looking at new and different ways for people to train and compete. We want to make it fun. So we want to have on-demand training workouts. We want to have those gamified experiences. So if anyone was able to hop on April the 1st and experience the big wheels for April Fool's Day, then hopefully you saw a bit of that. But then there's also several other things like our boost mode races and so on and so forth. We also want Zwift to be accessible so that everyone can join the platform. One of our key pillars in everything that we do at Zwift is one Zwift for all. And that means truly anyone and everyone should be able to and should be able to find a home at Zwift. We want the playing field to be equal, and we want it to be fair. So it's something that we continue to work on as we refine categorization, practices in weight doping, and so on and so forth to ensure that when you come on platform, you are having as fair and as fun an experience as possible. And then as we move into the virtual events, like I mentioned previously, the virtual Tour de France and UCI Worlds, we want to make it fun to watch. We want this to be innovative. We want it to be unlike anything that you've seen before. So you can still have your traditional cycling, your traditional triathlon, your traditional running models with in real life events, but then there's Zwift, and there's a whole new category for that. And recognizing that it is different, it's entertaining, and hopefully it inspires people through watching that to get on a bike and to go out for a run. So with that, we've obviously been able to have quite a few things come through in the last year that have been very exciting. So the first and foremost, I know this is a cycling specific event, and this is a triathlon group, but it's worth mentioning the virtual Tour de France was able to reach out to many different countries and viewers around the world with 7.9 viewers just on Eurosport of watching the virtual Tour de France take part on Zwift. We were extremely excited to put it on. We created 2 new worlds for the event with our France world and then our Paris map as well. And we look to continue on with events of this magnitude as we move forward. And how do we engage the pros to give the everyday consumers something to watch and be entertained by, but then also the added benefits of creating these new worlds that then the consumers can come out and enjoy themselves. In addition to that, we were able to break new ground with Super League and in launching the arena games. So if you were able to tune in 2 weeks ago, we had the second ever arena games at the London Olympic Center with many different pros, both para-athletes and athletes taking part in a triple mix format of a very short course swimming, biking, running. Excuse me. Sorry, I think somebody just came off mute. But if you will, just if you have any questions, please just add them in the chat. We have a few people jumping in and organizing those, and then we'll jump into all the questions at the end. But with the Super League Arena Games, this truly was groundbreaking, and being able to bring the real life and the virtual worlds together in one place. And the hope is that once we're through kind of COVID times and we're able to bring a community together in real life, that we'll be able to fill the stands in an arena like this, and it'll be a really exciting environment. So one thing to mention is that the next Arena Games is planned for this weekend, this Sunday, and that will be taking place in Rotterdam with several big name athletes ready to compete again and go head to head. So should be very exciting. You can find all the places to watch it through Super League's website, and hopefully you enjoy it and are entertained. One of the things that we've specifically worked on at Zwift is in this year where there hasn't been outdoor racing, is how can we provide the community these events to take part in, to scratch that itch. And two specific ways that we've done that on the triathlon front is the Z Pro Tri Series, which brought together top pros from around the world to compete against each other. So we've held multiple races there. Candidly, with this group is yes, we did offer appearance fees and prize monies for those pros in a year that they weren't receiving prize money in other races. We wanted to make sure that they were able to make money in some way, shape, or form. They're a part of our community. They're a part of the Zwift family, and we want to make sure that we're supporting them throughout. But then conversely to that, we want the community to be able to take part in events as well. We know that they're yearning for races, and they don't have those on the calendar right now. So we created what we call the Zwift Duathlon League. And with the Zwift Duathlon League, it's a series of bike run races that take part for 6 weeks, meant to be a good bit of fun, not necessarily the end all be all in competition. So that format of that is a 35-minute TT race and a 15-minute run with a 10-minute gap between to give people time to switch from bike to treadmill. And the whole concept around it is you score points for every meter ridden and every meter run. And then those points are what go towards the overall global leaderboards for that. And then in addition to that, the pros throughout this last year have really embraced the platform. So we've been very fortunate that numerous pros have come to the platform over the last several years to use it as a place to train and also compete. But in the last year, it's been their kind of place for a bit of normalcy. So whether it be, I believe it was a year ago yesterday that Jan Frodeno did his Ironman at home, raising money for doctors and COVID relief, to Lionel Sanders competing in the UCI Worlds as a triathlete amongst the cyclists. It's been quite a fun year to see how the pros have really taken to the platform and used it as a place that they can create a community of their own. They can engage with fans and provide them a look in at their training, and kind of humanizes the pros to some degree. And in addition to that, we've had many key partners come to platform, whether they were here already or they expanded what they were doing over this. So we're here with British Tri today. They've been one of our key partners for several years. We're always excited to have many events on the calendar with them. Slow Twitch is another massive community for our triathletes on platform, as well as Tri 247. And those just make up what is over at this point 180 daily events that we have on platform across bike and run. So really aiming to have something for everyone, really at all hours of the day. So with all this, what's the best way that you, as the everyday consumers, the people that want to create a community, can best utilize Zwift? So I have a few walkthrough videos. There's no sound involved with it, so if you don't hear any sound, nothing's broken on your computer. So first and foremost are our in-game workouts and training plans. So we have a full library of workouts on platform that everyone can access. This is also where your custom workouts will go in. So if you have Training Peaks or today's plan synced up. And then we also have numerous training plans. So this walks you through the cycling training plans. FTP Builder is one of my personal favorites. but we also have TT tune-up. And then across the running side as well, we have multiple training plans with our 3-run 13.1 plan for half marathons, and our 5K record breaker plan for those looking to really inject some speed in their run. So a lot of great things there in terms of the workouts that we have on demand, the training plans, but also, as I mentioned on the previous slide with our community groups, we have regularly scheduled group workouts as well, which is a great place for the community to come together to interact with each other. So take a look at those if you haven't had a chance to jump in. We have one scheduled for this entire group this week. So that, as I mentioned in the upfront of the presentation, we have a group workout scheduled, a group ride, so meant to be a social ride for everybody to interact and chat with each other during the ride. And then to close out the week, we do have a race plan for everyone, so that way everybody can scratch that itch of competition a bit. Another area, as I mentioned, are scheduled events and workouts. So if you go through the Zwift companion app, you can see kind of the full schedule of events that take place. You can also kind of filter that down to just group workouts, as I was mentioning, so you can see, okay, what are the workouts that are on schedule? What times are those offered at? And then really click through to see, okay, what's involved with this workout, to see if it ladders up to the training that you want to do for the day. So this is more on the individual level as opposed to the group level, but it also gives a chance of, if you have a small group, you can utilize some of the events already on the calendar for your own benefit. And if one of those doesn't work out, one of the easiest ways for you to interact with the platform is through our meetup functionality. This enables you to schedule your own personal event for any hour of the day, whether it be bike or run. You can pick whichever course you want, so you can head over to London and do the London Classique loop or the full PRL if you want. You can even set up your own race. So in this example, you can turn on race results. You can go look up whoever you want that you're friends with, that they're friends with you, add them to it, and throw down a little challenge to them to come out and race with you. So I don't know that I normally want to take on Lionel, but maybe his legs are a little soft after his win yesterday at Galveston, and I might have a chance to stay within one lap on the PRL course with him. Another way that we're currently working on for people like yourselves to utilize the platform is our club functionality. With club functionality, we aim to create kind of these micro communities within Zwift where you can have full control over the events that you're scheduling, and also really develop that community, have conversations with them, and create your own schedule of events there. It's something that is currently in beta, so a few of you may have been able to interact with it thus far. And over the next several months, we'll be rolling out more and more features to that platform, with the goal of before the next winter season to have many more items of functionality available to the club owners, so that way it's not a clunky experience for you, and you feel like you have full control over that Zwift experience. So this is the very high level overview, the very quick rundown of everything that is Zwift, everything that we're seeing kind of in the marketplace as these virtual events continue to rise, and that COVID's only accelerated that. So at this point, I'd like to open it up to any questions. I know a few have come through the chat, so I'll get started on a few of the first ones there. And then if any other questions come in, feel free to jump into the chat, add them there, and we'll answer them as they come through. So first one, Jane, thank you for the question, was how much does Zwift cost? So Zwift is a monthly subscription. It's $14.99 US. I believe that's $12.99 in pounds per month. We do not have an annual subscription at this point in time. We just do it on month-to-month basis. So that way people have the flexibility of coming to the platform, leaving when they'd like to go back outside. We also have a pause your subscription. So that way, if you do intend to come back, you can pause it, and it'll help prompt you and remind you to come back to the community and come back to Zwift. And then Stu, thank you. Is it common for coaches to use Zwift to host sessions for individuals or for a group? So great question. We actually have seen quite a lot of this over the last several years, and especially during COVID. So when we look at a few of our pros, there's definitely coaches that use it on an individual basis, and it's not just the pros. There's many others kind of on an individual basis as well, where they'll tune in and watch it in like a single person session. But what we see for the most part are larger group sessions. As I've kind of gone through, Zwift is meant to be a community platform. So it's that idea of the shared pain is less pain. So you want to get into that workout, and when you're doing that long, hard set, you have everyone else with you. And something that I didn't walk through during the presentation is when you're doing a group event, a group workout, what we do is we have this feature called rubber banding, and it keeps everyone together. So whether one person is doing 400 watts and another person is doing 200 watts, you stay together. So that way you have that community feel. You have that sense of, okay, we are going through this together. It does modulate your speed. So if you're looking to rack up a ton of miles, be warned that your speed will be regulated, so that way we can keep the group together. But the idea there and the whole purpose there is for everyone to be together. Perfect. Next up, Paul, we have a question from you on when should club functionality be coming out? Would be great to see Zwift work with more local tri clubs. Yes, agreed, Paul. So in terms of club functionality, it's out now in beta, and over the next several months, we'll continue to roll out more and more features. I don't yet have a firm date for you. Apologies on when it will be fully out. I think it'll be something that we continue to refine and work on over the next call it 6 to 12 months. But my hope is that as we approach the Northern Hemisphere winter of 2021, so call it October, November, we'll have a much more robust set of features for everyone. So as people are going back indoors again next year, during those winter months when the weather turns poor again, you'll have those features to be able to utilize. And with that is the intent with club functionality, is to give organizations like local tri clubs the ability to manage their own events, to create their own local communities for themselves. The best place for that at this point in time, until that functionality has been fully developed, is through the meetup functionality, where you can create regular events, invite people from the local clubs, set up races if you'd like to. So I know the example that I shared was just on the cycling side, but you can also set up races on running. You can set up standard group rides and runs as well with that. So next up, I have a few more from Paul. Can the tri race, the Z Pro tri race series, offer points beyond 10th place? WTRL updated the ZRL series after feedback. So I'm not sure if I'm understanding the question fully.
That might be relating to the Arena Games Club Champs, which did award points in those races for first down to 10th, and then everybody below that had 1 point each. So I suspect that's what he's referring to in that question.
Perfect. No, thank you for that clarification. Yes, it's something that we can absolutely take a look at. So this was obviously the first iteration of the Super League Club Champs. And as you fairly pointed out with the ZRL series, we are constantly looking at the message boards, constantly looking at the Facebook groups of what the feedback is coming through, and consistently making changes to hopefully make the experience better for everyone. So that's absolutely one that we'll take back to the team for the Super League Club events, and hopefully the next time you see that for the next set of arena games, it'll be that much better. In Zwift racing, why is everyone in the same jersey? It makes it harder for clubs to work together. Again, I'm assuming that you're referring to the Zwift community or the Super League community events. That was a request specific from the partner. They've gone through a lot of work to put on the events and wanted the branding in game with the Super League jerseys. But it is a very fair point of feedback. Those are the only, I shouldn't say the only, those are one of the few events that I know of where we do put everyone in the same jersey for races. I personally don't like that approach because as you fairly pointed out, it makes it very hard for for your team to work together. It makes it hard for you to identify people in pack. So something that we will take back and continue to refine. So that way you do feel like you can have that fully engaged and immersed race experience, where you can come together as a team. So do check out the other WTRL events with ZRL, where you can form your team. The Duathlon League was individual for the first season, but we'll be launching the next round of the Duathlon League here in June, and we intend to have a club competition within that as well. So you'll still compete as an individual, but you'll be able to score points for your club. And then another team-based event that's coming out this Friday, if you haven't had a chance to check it out, is the Zwift Running League. So up until this point, we haven't been able to have a team-based event with running. So really excited to bring that to the forefront. It'll be alternating week to week with weeks 1, 3, and 5 will be a cross-country style race, where you score points based on your finish order. And the top 3 members of your team will be able to score in that. And then the even numbered weeks 2, 4, and 6 will be doing a relay race with each member of the team running 2K around Crit City, and then virtually tagging off to the next person on their team for them to take off and run their lap around Crit City. So should be a great bit of fun. We've got several Zwift HQ teams, so I'll be out there doing it, and would love to see many of you doing it. But again, bring that up with those, you'll be able to put on your own jerseys, so you can identify your team better. But yes, we'll take that point of feedback back as well. Awesome. Stu, with the question of what's your favorite world and course and least favorite? Favorite world is absolutely Watopia, and favorite route I would probably say is Road to Sky. I'm a junkie for Alpe Zwift. I've done it quite a lot. I primarily use Zwift as a triathlete myself. I primarily use Zwift for my own training, and there's nothing more motivating for me than going uphill. I am a climber when I'm outdoors. I'm a climber when I'm on Zwift. So I love being able to kind of count down the workout through the switchbacks there, see the different kind of landmarks as you go through, and nothing more motivating than seeing kind of the elevation pitch up and when you have a hard effort going on. I find it quite difficult to maintain a really hard interval when I'm going downhill. So like to use that one. In terms of least favorite, I think in terms of least favorite, I really do enjoy Richmond for racing, but outside of racing, I have a hard time motivating myself to go over and use the Richmond course. So if I had to count least favorite in terms of pain inflicted, it would be the London PRL full course. That one was a brutal route badge to earn, going up and over Box Hill, I believe 8 times. So it made for a long day on the saddle. And then the last question that I have in here is plans for new challenges and worlds. So yes, this is absolutely a fair question. So for those of you that have dug into the challenges, whether it be the Everest Challenge, the Ride Across Italy, or the Ride Across California Challenge, we are looking to kind of refresh those. I don't yet have a time frame on that, but we also do have plans for more worlds as well. Can't fully dive into what we have planned, but stay tuned in the next we'll call it the next few months. We have a lot of exciting stuff coming. So hopefully you guys will be excited for it as well. I know that I am. A few of us internally have gotten to start testing things. So really excited to bring that to life for everybody to experience. Sorry, missed a few additional questions. And then, so there was a question from Mike of, I guess you need a treadmill for run racing training. Yes, Mike, ideally you do need a treadmill in order to fully experience Zwift. It gives you the ability to kind of be stationary, have the device in front of you where you can view Zwift, interact with the community. Although there are many people that have talked about pulling Zwift up on their phone, using a run pod, and going out for a run that way, just because they want to be able to use it, whether they're on vacation away from their treadmill and such. So so that is one way, if you have a specific event that you want to do, that you can still use Zwift Run. And I should clarify back to Jane's original question on how much does Zwift cost. So the monthly subscription is for cycling. The running product is still free. So if you haven't yet tried Zwift and you want to try Zwift, kind of in a low risk way, you can hop over on Zwift Run and give it a try there. Next up, we have our club enjoyed the Super League racing. Would be great to make the race visible so that we can follow our members. Something possible or considered. So I believe this is in terms of the races being listed as private races. Again, this was something at the request of Super League. I'll take the feedback back. It's 100% possible. We have numerous races that are on our public calendar, but something that they wanted to be able to have a bit more control over, so they could direct people to the right places, and it didn't get flooded with people from throughout the community, and it was more kind of the focused group that they were looking to engage with. But something I will absolutely take back. And then, can you control user weight entry accuracy? This is something that we are constantly battling. When I talked about earlier about making Zwift a place for fair and equal events and training, weight is always the big limiter. So in terms of this is how we measure things accurately in terms of your watts per kilogram, but it's also how people cheat on Zwift. So as you'll see with a lot of our big marquee events, we require weigh-ins for that. For the community events as well, we've got steps in place for auto categorization, for being able to flag riders based on previous efforts. We're starting to learn a lot more about users as we collect training data, as we collect previous racing data. We're able to see kind of, okay, here's what you should be capable of, and when there's an anomaly, of being able to flag that and boot them from the race. And so that way it doesn't ruin somebody else's experience. I know we've all had that experience where somebody's come in and they might have dropped their weight down and they're holding impossibly high numbers up the front. And while some of us would like to congratulate them on being the next Matthew Vanderpool, I think most of us are a bit annoyed that they're setting an absurdly high pace and blowing up the field from the start. So something that as a Zwift racer myself, I want to see fixed as quickly as possible. Something that we're working on quite extensively, and hope to have solutions out soon. Perfect. And then I do think this is the last question, but if anybody else has anything else that they want to drop in, is around a cycling turbo trainer with power output measured. In terms of can you control for accuracy with the cycling turbo trainer with power output measured? So yes, so this is where, with higher level racing with pros, we require them to do dual recording. So that way they have to have a power meter and the trainer. We check both power files against each other to make sure there's no anomalies and such. You've started to see this a lot in community racing as well for the upper tiers there of people requiring that. And then this is also something that we're working on with the hardware manufacturers of how do we get more strict and accurate in terms of the power output. How do we have direct connection such so that way you don't necessarily require a calibration every time that you go into a race, that it's accurate and fair numbers across the board. Hopefully that answered the question, but if not, please feel free to add any clarifying points in the chat. Yes, Paul, definitely would love to see rowing. It's something that I don't think we've been too shy about saying. We're working on it, but for the time being, kind of one thing that COVID has shown us as a platform is that as the demand for the product increases, as more and more people come into Zwift, we have a few critical foundational elements that we need to make sure are absolutely buttoned up before we continue to grow the product offering any further. So a lot of the work that's been happening over the last year has been behind the scenes. It's stuff that you may not necessarily see, but it's absolutely critical to the development of Zwift. And critical to us being able to deliver really cool things to come. So I'm really excited for the next 12 months. We've got some great stuff planned. I feel like we've really fixed the foundation, the glaring gaps that COVID has pointed out to us. So that way you'll be able to see a lot more things into the future of how do we expand upon that. Both in rowing, when that is able to release, in running, and then continuing to work on cycling, and then just quickly scrolling through to make sure that I haven't missed anything else. Brian, thank you for the message. Absolutely, I cannot agree more. So Brian messaged about having hand cycle avatars, and avatars representative of our many para athletes out there. This is something we are 100% committed to. As I said earlier, one of our key pillars with Zwift is One Zwift for All. So we do have a team working on this right now. It's something that we look to bring to market. It's something that we as a team, my team on the triathlon running team, in working with Super League, specifically with the arena games, we look to provide fair and equitable racing for our para triathletes. So that's why you saw with the London events 2 weeks ago and the Rotterdam events, we'll be offering para athlete racing with that. Super exciting for those athletes. But agreed, it's a shame that those athletes are racing on Zwift and they're not able to visualize themselves as they see themselves in real life. So, and that means having hand cycles, having push room wheelchairs. And so something that we'll continue to look to develop. So we are fully committed to it in wanting to represent all athletes, whether they're able-bodied or not. But quite frankly, we do have a lot of work to do still. But awesome. Well, I think that brings us to time. I thank you all for the questions. Thank you all for being a great audience. Neil, the 4 new worlds, can't necessarily promise 4 new worlds, but you will have a few new places to play in the not too distant future. So really appreciate everybody joining. If there's any other questions that pop up, please feel free to send them through the conference, and then also make sure you're jumping into the Zwift events. I believe those are scheduled for the morning times. And hopefully I'll see you all there.
Thanks a lot, Craig. Those rides are 7:30 tomorrow, Wednesday and Thursday. I'll put the link a couple of times into the chat, so you should have that. It's also on your conference programs that have been sent out to you, so you should be able to access those. Your next session this evening is a mental wellbeing session at 8:45. Again, you'll have the link for that. Please make your way over. We will tomorrow around lunchtime send you out the update for tomorrow, so make sure you access those sessions. As mentioned, the Zwift ride will take place at 7:30 tomorrow morning, so please do make sure you're on that. Before we go, though, I'd like to say a huge thanks to Craig for his time. I know it's a little bit earlier over there than it is here, and probably a little bit warmer than it's going to be over here as well. But huge thanks for joining us, Craig. It's been great, and I know from the comments that are coming in on the chat, people have really appreciated that insight. So from all of us, thank you very much.
No,
everybody
thanks
else,
for having me, Will.
No, not a problem. Our pleasure.